It's only another episode of Sandy the Landy. You guys are keeping safe, washing your hands and all that. No coughing going on here. I'm in kind of self-isolation in my workshop. Right, Sandy the Landy. Today, we're going to pull the engine out. The reason we're going to pull the engine out is because I want to just check on the condition of the clutch. So, rather than gabbing on about it, let's get on with it. While it's stripped down to this kind of extent, it makes sense to kind of do this. So everything is really accessible. What I'm basically going to do, I shall remove the radiator front panel. There's one bolt there, there's another bolt on the other side. Radiator, once the top hose and bottom hose are off, whole radiator front panel can lift out. Then it's just a case of disconnecting various pipes, various cables and so forth. There's some pipes here which really shouldn't even be sitting on top of the engine. Undo the bolts around the bell housing, pull the engine forwards and have a look at the clutch. While I'm at it, I just want to check on the clutch hydraulics as well. So I've got a new slave to put on. I know the starter motor works because we had that working before. Yeah, that's about it really. That's today's bit of fun and games, I reckon. What's the worst that can possibly happen? In here, I don't know what the release bearing's like. Feels quite smooth. It'll get replaced anyway because it's pointless not replacing it. It's got the same arm mechanism as the LT95 gearbox, which is a complete and utter fucking pain in the arse if that push rod ever comes off. Right, okay, I'm going to hook this clutch pressure plate off, and then we'll see what the state is of it all. And then we'll have a go at, I've got it at the right angle to come it off, so we know exactly how to put it back on again. I might replace the engine mounts as well while I'm here. They're looking a bit, well, they're not too bad actually. I thought they were all creased up, but they're not. That one as well. I'm obviously not getting underneath this right now, for obvious reasons. For obvious reasons. It's a weighty old lump, I tell you. The other thing I noticed while I was pulling it up is this exhaust manifold's cracked. Now it's only cracked on the joint, and someone's put an incredibly long bolt in there. But I suspect that'll last, that'll work. There's weird holes here into the inlet as well. Do they go right into the inlet? That's weird. I didn't take anything off there. Right, okay, clutch, and then lunch, I think. Woohoo! So what I do want to do is I want to protect this throttle mechanism. I don't really want the engine leaning on it. Let me see if I can pull the engine back a tiny bit. Right, 2 hands required. I marked the clutch plate out with flywheel side. It's pretty obvious which side's flywheel side anyway. It's got a fair amount of meat left on this clutch plate. I'm inclined to put the bastard back in again. As long as all the springs are tight. They are. And then the other thing I want to look at is the clutch forks. It's been slipping a bit. Someone's been slipping it. It's not bad. I've seen better. But again on this you just want to make sure there's no broken springs. It's an AP clutch cover, which is good news. Means we haven't got a hokey cokey 5000 in here. Whoops, standing on Basil there. Is this a AP? They normally stamp their AP stuff. AP. So it's an AP clutch plate and cover, and release bearing has disappeared. It's been taken up. There it is. Release bearing is in good shape. but it's futile kind of putting new one of these back in. I'll see if I can get a new 3D bearing. I can put this whole fucking lot back together, except for I got a bit of an oil leak down here. I'm not into engine rebuild territory, but I really don't want to be seeing oil dribbling out the back of the crankcase. What I might do is just whiz the flywheel off, just by undoing those bolts. Also, the spigot bearing, or the pilot bearing, is in there, and you can see it's in pretty poor shape. So I'm inclined to replace that. The pilot bearing, actually, that just runs on the pilot bearing. I'll clean the splines up before I go berserk on it as well. But yeah, they look all right. Are we in gear at the moment? Yeah, we're in neutral. We're in neutral. So I should be able to clean all that lot up. Lube up the nose. Might have to just see what's leaking on the back here. You can see it's been leaking for some time. Might find some gold sovereigns down there. Farmers like to hide their gold sovereigns in old Land Rovers, you know that, don't you? Right, there's quite a lot of oil down this side as well. Where's it all coming from? I think it might have come down the back of the engine. You can see it's been leaking at the rocket cover at the top there. It's probably come down from the top of the engine. Yeah, I think that's all right. So I'm not going to bother replacing the clutch plate or cover. I'll put a new release bearing in. Yeah, it's leaking off the crankshaft seal. You can see crankshaft goes into this void here, and you can see that the oil has been streaking out from that. That's the easy way to tell. You can see where it's been spraying out from there. When we look in the back of the engine, it's been doing it for quite a long time. That's useful. That is useful. Look at that. This, I just was looking at it and thought, wow, that's not steel. That's not cast iron. This is. That wasn't. So I thought, oh, right, okay, there's some bolts buried underneath all the crap. 8 bolts and it's off. So there is an O-ring on the inside of it, but then there's also a seal behind behind here. I'm just going to go look at the parts guide. Right, so where have we been? Well, we've cleaned up the flywheel. The flywheel actually looks like it might have been new. So once I cleaned all the grease and the crap off it, check him out. That's nice, doesn't he? Cleaned up. Ring gear's good on it. I've just sprayed some WD-40 on that so I don't want it to rust. Clutch plate cover is good. I'm going to replace the thrust bearing because I never put an old thrust bearing back into an engine again. Been cleaning up the gearbox adapter plate. This thing was absolutely caked in it. I mean, it was an enormous amount of crap in there. I'm halfway through that. I'm not going to go berserk on this, but I have cleaned the worst of the mud and oil off the side of the engine. That's largely what it was. But given that all a clean up, that's all looking okay in there. It is so engine number starts with a 602, so that indicates it's a really late 3-bearing crank petrol. So it's not because the 5-bearing cranks came in 1980 and this car is 1980, so this must be one of the very, very last 3-bearing cranks. Now, on petrol, 3-bearing crank isn't really a problem. They should be okay. I don't know if this thing's been apart at all. I've got no idea. I don't really want to start tipping it over and getting the bearings out. Don't tempt me. Please don't tempt me. Anyway, gearbox is all looking really good and clean inside. It's almost like that is been out or been refurbished or something, because that is unbelievably clean in there, considering the mileage this van's done. On the cross member, I scraped all the crap off, original paints underneath it, scraped some of the crap off the inner wing and the chassis paints underneath it. So the chassis is looking in really good order. Obviously it's had new dumb irons welded on the front. Engine mounts are fine. I'm just going to clean up these bits. I just want a bit of vac tan over the top of them so they don't look quite so rusty. Yeah. Should leave that balanced up. It's actually the weight is on the crane, but I've just got the wood underneath it to stabilise it so it doesn't wibble around all the damn time. The other thing I did, gave the starter motor a damn good clean up, because the sump had been leaking, everything was caked in oil. So that's cleaned up quite nicely. Now I'm waiting for the gunk to go off, because you can see there's moisture on the Bendix. You don't want anything on that at all. So tomorrow, once all this has kind of gone off, I shall thoroughly clean this off. I don't want anything on there at all, because if you have any moisture on these Bendix things, then they attract dirt, and then they seize, and then they don't start the car, or they stick on. That's been about it, really. It's been quite a productive afternoon, getting that all sorted out. I've ordered up the seals of. The reason I was thinking about this was, there's a cutout here to take these bolts out, and I'm wondering if by rotating the crank I can get all those bolts out, take the two halves, because is it in two halves? Yes, it's in two halves, so these metal chunks here come out in two halves. I think that's a rubber seal behind it. So I'm going to have a look and see if I can establish what should go behind there, because while it's all out and while I'm doing engine seals to stop the oil going into the nose of the gearbox, I might as well get it sorted out, eh? I need to get the steering relay out. The reason I need to get the steering relay out is because it's far too tight. So I need to disassemble it, clean it, put it back together again, and see if it can be recovered. So there's 6 bolts that hold these things in. There's 2 bolts that go through here, and there's your spoiler, and there's 4 little bolts, 7/16 head, which hold a dust plate onto the bottom. When I say dust plate, it actually keeps the crap in there, and normally these things seize in. However, and the bottom arm came off this thing dead easy. I had to cut the head off the bolt because someone had mangled it. So I cut the head off the bolt and then just drifted the old bolt through, and this arm fell off. No problem at all. And then I thought, well, I'm just going to give it a tap. And look, I managed to move it. I'm just lifting the fucking thing out. This is a first. This is a first for me. I've never ever lifted one of these bastard things out before, ever. Normally they are seized solid. What the fuck? I mean, there's a little bit of crap on the bottom of this one. But I'll have that out in a second. Normally you have to put like tons and tons and tons of pressure to lift these out of the chassis. So whenever you're putting them back in, put loads of grease around them, between the body of the relay and the chassis, the hole it goes into. So let me lift this bastard out. There it is. It's out. So I can only assume this has been fitted recently. So all of this shit here, that was above this sleeve here, which is an interference, not an interference fit, a snug fit into the chassis hole, and all of that shit was above it. So what basically happens is mud and crap gets down and plugs this area up, and all of this crap here can go onto the floor. I'll give the hole a damn good clean out before we go back in again, but that's a pleasant surprise. That is a pleasant surprise. Now I can get this thing in the vise, and see if I can oil it properly. Now, when you're taking these things apart, be careful. Refer to the manual. There's a big spring in here. This and this are joined. They're part of the same piece of metal, but there's a bloody great spring in there. And if you undo these 4 bolts at the bottom here, you may find that it all flies apart. Or it may not, I don't know. I'm quite surprised with that. Pleasantly surprised. Relay's out. Whoa. That is genuinely surprising. Right, now, what I did before I pulled it out was, with the bottom lever, I tried to pull, and I was getting nearly 50 pounds of force to get it to move, to overcome the resistance. These things should move with about 25-ish pounds of force. So that's too tight, and it's going to make the steering too tight, which is why it came out. I was expecting this to be somewhat of a challenge, as you can hear from the surprise in my voice. I've seen people use pullers to get them out. The problem with these is that bracket there is in the way, and that bracket's in the way as well. So I don't quite know how I'd fit a puller on this if I was going to do this. The other way I've done it in the past is with well, at the moment, so I've got the engine crane here because the engine's up there. I'd have put a bottle jack onto the leg of the engine crane and just jacked it up. Maybe I could ratchet strap the chassis down to the crane. I've just put force on the bottle jack to see if I could jack it out. That would work. It's another way of doing it. And if you see what I mean, you've got a nice stable platform here. So you put a ratchet strap around the engine crane, around the chassis leg. So you're locking the two together, and the bottle jack on the platform there and resting against the bottom of the relay. Ideally you want to kind of protect the splines at the bottom of the relay, so you probably have a bit of wood or something in between, and that then might just give it a little bit of encouragement to shift it upwards. Yeah, didn't even have to use the big tappy, I used the nylon tappy. How weird is that? Giving him a little bit of a degrease, and he's actually responding to just being wound over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So yeah, I think it was dry. I don't think it needs to come apart. This is a diagram showing the cross section, showing where the main shaft goes through the middle, where the bolts in the bottom go in, the end cap and so forth, and how you get the whole shaft to come out through the bottom for now. Don't put the shaft in the bottom for now. As you can see, that's turning quite lightly now. Lube, not going to bother taking it apart. Sorry guys, there's other videos of people dismantling these things. I don't need to, so I'm not going to. I'm going to lube it up and I'm going to pop him back in again. Only one of these is a drain hole and all the others are just blind, so you need to find which one is the drain hole. You see, because as I'm putting this in, it's just squirting all the oil out that I put in, because all I did was thread the lube the threaded blind hole. So it's neither of those two. I'll start with this one next. I'll just put that one in first. I'm not going to video this because I need two ends. Sorry guys, but all I'm going to do is put the other bolt back in, because again that's a blind hole, I think. Undo this one, try that one, and then finally undo that one. One of these will have a access into the main body of the system. We can see up here that there is kind of oil on the outer ring, so it's on its way through. At the moment it's upside down, as you can see, but we'll get there. Oh yes, make no mistake. Found it. Right, it's so looking at the bottom end there, I don't know which way round this thing went in, but it's one of these holes at 90 degrees here. So that hole there, I put oil in it, and it disappeared reasonably quickly actually when I cranked it backwards and forwards. However, when I undid a bolt at the other end, it poured an incredible amount of gloopy crap out. That's about half of it. The rest of it is all over the bloody place. But I'm going to drain this thing right down now. You can see there's still shit coming out of it. Nasty shit. So I'm going to drain it out completely and put fresh oil back in again. I reckon that'll do it. Weirdly, with no lube in it whatsoever, it's actually the loosest it's been. Just one thumb now, spinning that over. This stuff as well, this is not all oil in here. It's quite loose. Look, that's a really light machine oil there. So I don't know what it was. Very light machine oil. My phone's going berserk for some reason. Just a minute. Well, it's still dripping out. I think what I might do actually, because it's dripping onto the floor now, I actually could use this tray here, couldn't I? Oh, I'd actually use my degreasing grill tray. Never chuck old grill trays away. These things are very useful. So you stand apart on it, you see. It's got a nice grill section, and then all the gloop and shite goes underneath there. Right, so just winding this thing over, and it's still coming out. Right, so what I'll do is I'll reverse fill this thing. I'll fill it from the bottom for now. I don't even know why I said for now then. Why did I say for now? Right, okay, losing the plot. I'll fill it from the bottom end. And where's my oil plunger gun? There it is. I might need to get some more oil. And just It's a bit of a laborious process filling these things up, because what happens is you find that it kind of fills the hole. In fact, this is going straight in. You can see it's disappearing inside the shaft for now. Might be easier with an oily bird now that it's going in so easily. Nice. Save this then. And I left the bolt off the top end because I actually want it to drain right the way through. I want it to wash whatever the crap is that's in there out. If there's rusty particles and so forth. I mean, this really does look a bit ganky, doesn't it? Probably find there's magnetic particles in there. Never mind, it happens. But that is beautiful now. Oh yes. So it's got, maybe there was some water in it, maybe there was water contamination, maybe that's why it's so loose, so to speak. Okay, well that's good news. I'm pleased with that. Shame I managed to fuck up the edge of the, shame I managed to balls up the edge of that there, because I was upside down with the cutting disc. I didn't realise I'd gone quite so far, but never mind. Shit happens, doesn't it? There's enough meat on it left that it's not going to affect it. Right, lubing this up now. Got it to the point where I'm putting the oil in at the top here and it's dripping out the bottom there. So it means kind of it's got good flow through. So I'm going to have to replace this bolt now and go to the top of the unit, and we will do the same thing. So we need to take 2 bolts out of the top rail. When I've got 2 bolts out, then I'll be able to top him up. So it looks like we've got rid of all the slop and the crap out of it. It is an awful lot lighter. It's working beautifully. You can see though there's quite a lot of crap working its way out the bottom. I think this thing had water in it, and the water was around the bottom end, because of course oil floats on water, doesn't it? So the water was at the bottom end, and having kind of drained it like that, it's improved the situation no end. Right, let's get this arm off, and I'm going to tip it upside down. It's filling up beautifully now. So this wasn't happening before when it was in the car, because it was already full of water and crap, and I hadn't found the drain hole because I hadn't realised it was only on one corner. You can see I'm just slowly dribbling the oil in. The air's coming out of the other hole, and when oil comes out the other hole, I know it's full. It's quite a laborious process this, because I'm going to need to put a fair amount. I've not been able to find out what the capacity of these things is. 25 millilitres or so, I reckon. Maybe a little bit less. We'll see. You can see it's gobbling it all up. It's not pouring out the bottom. Ah, right, okay, oil's coming out the other hole now, so we're full. Alright, so wiggling it backwards and forwards a little bit, and we'll know that all the faces in there have got oil on them. That's good. Put the bolts in now. Day 3 of isolation. Sorry if I'm a bit short of breath today. I was in the last video, I noticed as well, but yeah, I'm in isolation and all that, but shit happens, doesn't it? Right, now we are next going to replace this seal down the back here. Pop that up there. And basically it means I need to do is to rotate the crankshaft. I haven't got what's his name on this. Rotate the crankshaft, undo each of these bolts, and then I end up with a seal, which is split. There he is. And the 2 halves of the retaining plate. There you go. That's quite neat, isn't it? This kit, this is the part number for the kit. Seal kit, rear main bearing, comes with a whole load of other bits and bobs that go into and around it, but I'm probably not going to need those fellas because I'm not taking the sump off. All I'm doing is replacing that rear seal. All the bolts are out. There was no real tightness to any of these bolts. I'm rather hoping that this thing was just going to slip forwards. I don't want to though, does it? Might need a bit of a belt. So I was looking then at the shape of the new ones, so we can see which way round they go. It looks like that edge there goes into the... it's actually got rubber all over it as well, huh? It's got a rubber coating on it. Oh, didn't know that. Right, okay, let's. I'm going to struggle to get these off, I think. It might actually be a bit of a brutal kind of, let's give it a tap. Should be able to do that. Rotate. Oh, by the way, what I decided to do was just whiz the plugs out. The plugs have come out. Rotate the engine using the fan then. See, look, there's a nice big gap there now. Perhaps if I can just get something in that, wedge that in and get it out. So a hearty good tap behind that, and it came off. It looks like there's a couple of dowels in the back there, which it was fixed onto. Right, I shall continue to get this bastard out now, and then I shall report back. Mildly irritating, because I finally was forced to consult the manual. It would appear that the rear bearing cap needs to be loosened in order to get that bottom housing off. But we're at this stage, so what the fuck, we might as well do it, eh? I need to drain the oil out of the sump first of all, because it is full. Oh, there's the drain plug, that's useful. Right, capture that lot then. Let's get this thing done. And it looks like the sump gasket's leaking anyway, so it gives me an opportunity to sort that out as well. How about that? What fun. Oh yes. What fun indeed. What I will do is I'm just going to pop the plugs back in just to save anything alien dropping into the cylinders. We don't want that, do we? No, Richard, we don't want that. We don't want that at all. I mean, I normally talk to myself, but I'm especially having to talk to myself at the moment. Right, let's get this oil drained out. Right, the best way I can see of doing this is to, I'll take the sump off, drop the engine down onto a couple of lumps of wood, and I shall haul it over and onto its side. That's the only way I can really see that this is going to be achievable. There is just about enough wood here for me to be able to do that, I think. I'm going to drop it onto this side. I think it's going to be safer. And I can get that. I don't want to break the distributor off either, you see. I could work upside down, of course, but I really don't fancy working upside down underneath this thing. Doesn't look like a lot of fun, does it? Right. The alternative would be to dump it up here. That might be easier to work on up there. Is it going to lay flat up there then? No, it's too far off the ground. I'll lay it off down here. It all seems quite clean and tidy in here. It's a hell of a crank really for 3 bearings, isn't it? Quite a long throw on it as well. I didn't realise quite how... I've never had one of these things upside down before. But makes you wonder how they got the 2 extra main bearings in there. Right, okay, now we're going to get the rear bearing cap out. I'll assess the rear bearing as well. We'll clean up the gasket faces for a new sump gasket to go on there. We're catching a bit of oil at the moment. Parts are very, very good at doing that. Parts bags, I should say. And then we'll stand this thing back upright again, ready for its new gasket to go on. Yeah, right. It's a beaut. These bearings look new. They really do. The crank is in really good shape. So I'm not going to bother going any further into this engine. I'm just going to fit up the seal and clean up the faces. I'm going to bolt it all back together again. I've ordered the sump gasket. It's not here today. I can't go out because we're not allowed to. But never mind. We can get the rest of the engine ready to accept it. Now I did order a ton of gaskets, knots and sots, because I did notice that the front oil seal was leaking, but I think they do. I think what we need to do is get this back end of this engine sealed up and get it back in the car before I'm in danger of spending too much time and effort on this thing, because that is beautiful. I mean, look at that. That's spanking new, that. Right, getting back together now. Right, now there's T-shaped gaskets and all sorts of things going on here, so I need to, I think, work out what goes back in, what doesn't. That's crap, that's crap. Oily hat. Here we go. There's the seals. Arf, arf. Looks like there's an old style seal and a new style seal. It's the new style I want here. 1983 bearing crank. In really good shape. Really good shape. Well chuffed. I was out here earlier on and I was looking around thinking, what an absolute gorgeous day. Get all this up here, yeah? What's missing? You'll know what's missing. What's missing? Well, apart from the clouds. Oh, there you go. There's your big spoiler. No contrails at all. There's one went over very, very high altitude yesterday. Probably from China. Right. Let's put this back together again. Okay. So, got the bearing back in again. 85 foot-pounds of torque for the main bearing, pardon me, caps. And then I've just nipped up these seal retaining clips on the back here. That's all in. Hoping that's all right now. It wants to be. And yeah, waiting for sump gasket now. I couldn't get these bloody T-pieces in. Cheap nasty shit. Just nothing comes even remotely near the right size. So I filled the grooves up with silicone, Durco, to be honest. This stuff down here, that was just a bit of excess that squirted out. I'm hoping that that's going to hold it. It's heat resistant, it's oil resistant. It's not bathroom sealer. It's designed for the automotive use. Now, the old seal, it's no wonder it had failed. It's rock hard. Absolutely rock hard. You can see, in fact, I managed to snap it, getting it out. So that's why that had failed, which is good. I'll move it a step forwards. Right, I'm going to stand this thing back up now, and then I can. I'm going to put the back engine plate back on. Yes. It does look nice and clean in here though, doesn't it? Probably said that already. Oil pump. It's a useful place to put it, but still, it's there. Oil pickup, oil pump. I'm not aware of any running issues with this engine at all. Certainly the bearings are looking very healthy. So I'm going to incline to leave the rest of this thing the heck alone. Right. Get this back in tomorrow when the gaskets arrive.